almost as a rule, anybody from Boston at some point in their lives is bitter. I didn't make the rules up. It's just true. So Ryen Russillo is one of the only Boston guys I've ever met that if the Patriots or Celtics lose, he doesn't go hide in his basement for a month. So I'm watching the Celtics series, and I'm like, I find the Warriors as a dynasty, and they're sometimes obnoxious. I find them embraceable. I kind of like them. How does it land for you as a Boston guy watching them win again?
I like Steph so much that seeing this victory lap that he gets and the recognition, and, you know, it was kind of silly, this whole finals MVP thing where it's like, yeah, he's good, but like, come on, you know, and the 2015 finals, he should have won finals MVP anyway. Yeah. So, you know, Durant comes in. I mean, he is everything you would want as the face of your franchise in any sport. I mean, seriously, if you go back the last, you know, Duncan's obviously in the conversation, Brady being in the conversation, but when we're looking at today's basketball star, and the way that I think they're kind of detached from team, like I don't think the NBA has a lot of great partners at times for the top players, because I get it. Like the empowerment movement leads to, hey, I'm not wasting my time. I'm calling my shot. That's fine. I'm not even critical of that. But for Steph to be this kind of partner for this organization, not demand to trade everybody, to ride this out, you could tell that this championship meant more to this group, I think, than any of the four.
Yeah.
And that's why Steph was so emotional. So, you know, even as a Boston guy rooting for the Celtics at the end of it, there was no part of it where, and I also picked the Warriors on the podcast too. So let's not kid ourselves. We're all egomaniacs and we want to be right. So.
You know, I said this. When you're in a situation like the Lakers, when they don't draft and develop, they're not Boston, they're not Milwaukee, they're not patient. That Kyrie story with the Brooklyn Nets today is interesting. Now, Kyrie has failed in places, but he's not declining, Ryan. He had his best three-point shooting year ever. He's acknowledged, yep, I screwed Cleveland up. I own it. I screwed it up. They need size in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like, to me, if you're going to go up against Giannis and Embiid, I could make the argument, just get Westbrook out of it. Nobody truly wants that deal. They'll move him eventually. If you told me AD next to KD and Kyrie to LeBron, and it serves a purpose, I know it sounds smirky and ridiculous. It doesn't to me. I could see the Lakers doing that because what they have now is a mess.
All right. First of all, the Lakers are impatient because the entire city, the media, fan base, we demand that the Lakers do these things. And by the way, the whole Anthony Davis thing, like they still had a title 2 years ago. So I know you don't like Anthony Davis. I think I come on once every 3 or 4 months to go through it. Right now, you're feeling really good about your position. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I felt better about mine before. Here's the biggest difference with Kyrie and AD. Anthony Davis actually still wants to play and be in your team. All right. He gets hurt. And his value's never been lower, and that's why I would try to ride it out and see. I still think there's a second act coming for Anthony Davis. This Kyrie stuff has been going on 5 years. And I can see what you're doing. You got together the research department, and you're like, wait, best three-point shooting season ever?
Yeah.
You started talking yourself into this a little bit. One of the reasons why he shot it so well is that stretch where he had that absurd scoring stretch. I think he played 1 game in 9 days and then another game once in 12 games. Do you know how good you must feel as an NBA player going, all right, this is cool. I'm playing almost more than more than a week in between games. So I actually think his output, when people were talking about, like, look how great he is and he's barely played, I think people missed the point on that. It was that he was incredibly fresh. We also realized how incredibly talented he is. But Colin, this has been going on for 5 years. You know, when I talk about partners, Kyrie's a bad partner. 5 years, this started at 25 years old, where it was like, yeah, a little indifferent to some of this stuff. He played, 103 of 216 Nets games. This group has 13 playoff games together. And so it's going to start getting better at 30. The weird thing for the Nets here is that it's asset management, right? It's trying, NBA teams always keep guys they don't love because they're worried about losing the asset slot because everybody's over the cap anyway. Whereas the Nets are motivated to protect the asset. I don't know why other teams would be so motivated to get in bed with him immediately when he's shown multiple seasons of not quite being a guy you can bank on.
Yeah. All right. Well, I still like my position, but that's certainly a way to see it.
So you do it. No, seriously. You just straight up would say Anthony Davis out, Kyrie in, if you were the Lakers.
Yeah, and I don't worry about Westbrook because you're not going to fix him. Nobody really wants him. That's why he's going to be on his 5th team in 5 years. That's just like trying to solve Westbrook. That's a puzzle you can't solve. Let's just get out of that business.
We agree on that one. Like I'm so happy for Darvin Ham. If I read another article that says like he's going to fix it, like okay, all right, cool, got it.
Yeah. So all right, well that's what's fun about this. So my favorite player, and I think we've talked about this before. I love Bradley Beal. I have forever, but he's Dame. He kind of feels a regional loyalty. He feels like, that's who he is, man. I'm going to be good to my guys. But let's be honest. LeBron's wanted him. His group have wanted him for years. Everybody wants Bradley Beal. Good guy, works hard, can shoot. Like everybody wants Bradley Beal. He's expensive. Just give me something that works here, because he acknowledged this weekend, he's like, I've made up my mind, and I've got a lot of suitors. I'm guessing Miami. I have no intel. What's your gut feeling?
My gut on this has been partially informed, which now I think influences my now. I'm not telling you I'm super up to date. As he had just mentioned, I've made my decision. I'm not going to tell you about it. But I'd always heard that he was really happy where he was. But the motivation might be about getting that 5 years in a max deal and then figuring it out later, which I think is what you've seen now. It's gone from the shorter deals where the players thought, hey, look at all this leverage I'm going to have if I have 1 year and a player option. Like LeBron was doing that all the time. And now it's pivoted away. I'll just take the 4 or 5 years and then I'll ask for a trade. I mean, we just had Ben Simmons ask for a trade with 4 years left in the deal. So this is, I think, the new part of this, where the player acquires the contract extension and then figures out the rest of it later, instead of playing the game, which still has some risk in there of going shorter deals, feeling like you have more freedom because the injury part of it. So, Beal is somebody that everybody would want, but you'd have to figure out, okay, who is he exactly? Because if you have one really good player and then the rest of the roster isn't that good, and you're adding Beal, I think the reaction to it would kind of overrate what that team really is. Because if he were that special, okay, he's a really good player, but if he were that special, this organization would win more games, and they don't. So I like him. I think he's nice. And as soon as that contract is dry, you're going to feel like, man, I owe this guy how much?
Yeah. Finally, I want to pivot back to the Celtics, because I said this. When you verbalize stuff, I said, if Michael Jordan heard Jayson Tatum say, I didn't call myself a superstar, Jordan would be like, okay, it's in him. I'm going to pull that out of him. That is in him. He's verbalizing it. And I said, I love Tatum, but I'd make an argument. There are these guys in the NBA, they're unbelievably gifted, but they feel like twos. I think you can win a title with Tatum as your guy. But don't you think this morning a little bit of, why does he keep verbalizing all his doubt? I don't love it. How does it land for you as somebody who knows the team well?
And when he does what he did in Game 6 against Milwaukee, and you go, okay, all right, now we're talking about somebody who has like one of these legacy building games. Like right. The same thing with Ja getting 47 against Golden State in Game 2 of that series. You're like, all right. And I do think all of us that love the NBA are kind of obsessed and probably misguided at times about how much we're like, wait a minute. Because I always love kind of thinking like, who are my top 5 guys? That's why I can be way too late to something, because I got to see it for a couple years before I start putting you in this conversation where I think you're better than everybody other than 5 guys. But when you talk about ones and twos, like the list of ones is less than 10 players in the league.
Yeah. It's
always less than 10 players. Like we're always talking about like, hey, in the draft coming up, could this guy be the number 1 player? Hell, we're lucky to get 1 in a draft, because I don't think we have 10 in the NBA. So, Tatum, despite now having 3 playoff runs in 18, 20, and 22, the other ones coming up short to me weren't a big problem. I thought that he became, I don't know if it was a little predictable offensively. I think he needs to get a little bit stronger, which he will as he gets a little bit older. I don't know if the shoulder was part of this, but him hearing this is probably like the pushback to, it's way easier for me to just go, all right, I never said I was top 5. Than saying you're top 5 after you get eliminated, because then know you're just going to get destroyed on social media. So I actually think it was intelligent. It was a good tactic going, how can I diffuse all this criticism I'm getting right now? Well, I'll just say like, hey, I'm going to back off from the whole position.
Ryen Russillo, The Ringer, the Ryen Russillo podcast. All right. I don't want to.
Did I bore you or something? Are you all right?
It was kind of a sigh there. It was almost like it was. I got through that sigh, which I never feel with you. All right, I'm going on a big Caribbean vacation here in a week, and then when I get back, I'll circle back and we'll hang out. I've never been there. That's kind of your territory. So, give me a heads up on the Caribbean. What should I know?
Avoid all the casinos.
Okay. That's an easy one for me. That was easy. Yeah, that's exactly, Joy. Avoid the casinos. You'll come back and wonder.
And I know you like to ride bikes. I know you're a big motorcycle guy.
Yeah.
Just obey the local laws because traffic.
Yeah.
You get a little confused, that left lane, left turn thing.
Whoa. Yeah, I got confused with the right lane and our rules. Ryen Russillo, The Ringer, Ryen Russillo Podcast. Good seeing you, bud.
All right, see you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.